So the pregnancy after miscarriage was, made things a lot different. For one, I didn't, first time around you kind of hold your breath to hit the 3-month mark, but with after miscarriage, I don't think you ever stop holding your breath. You're always checking for spotting, and any type of cramping, freaks you out. I didn't even think about buying maternity clothes. When I actually did go buy them, it made me really nervous because, was I going to waste a lot of money? Yeah, it was, we didn't tell people as soon. And even then it was with some hesitation and worry. But, and we didn't pick out baby names till, well into the second trimester. We started thinking of boys' names, like we were going to use the girl's name that we had picked out just in case we had a girl with, first time around again. We needed to pick her middle name, so we kept trying that out eventually in the second trimester, but boys' names, we didn't even think of it until well into the second trimester. And even with Phoenix's name, we didn't come up with it and make it until 2 weeks before he was born. Like, we had thought of some names, but they didn't feel like, with Zayden's, we knew when we came up with his first name and his middle name, we knew that was it, no more thinking about it. And so we had thought of some boys' names, but we never came to that point of, yeah, that's it, 100%. So once we made up Phoenix's, our first name, we knew right away. And, well, not right away, but within a couple of days. And that was 2 weeks before he was born. And his middle name, we didn't even cement it until the day I was actually in labor. So we were a lot more hesitant in that area too. Okay, so how my pregnancy was different with having a baby around is I was pregnant. Zayden was, 18 months? So he was still quite little. He was 26 months when Phoenix was born. So I got pregnant with Phoenix when Zayden was 16 months old. So, oh boy, I found it a lot harder. Because I was sick, with Zayden, when I was sick with him, I could come home, I could lay on the couch, I didn't have to eat, I could just rest, sleep, and then, get up and do whatever I wanted and then go to bed again. Well, when you have a little one to take care of, you don't get to do that. Even though you're nauseous, they still need to eat. So you have to cook food, even though you don't want to smell it or think about it. You have to clean them up. Their poopy diapers, I found that really, really hard sometimes to do. Whenever my husband's home, he would change them for me, thankfully, but he at the time worked evenings, so when I would get off work, he would pick me up and then drop Zayden and I off at home, and he would go to work. So I was basically like a single mom. Like, I had to play with him because I hadn't seen him all day, and of course he was thrilled to see me, and put him to bed, do the bath, do all that, feed him supper, all of that stuff by myself. And to make things worse, my husband only had one day off a week then. It was Fridays. So on Saturday and Sunday, he was working, and I was home all day by myself with Zayden. So I found it really hard with the nausea with that. With the fatigue, again, you don't get to just come home and rest or have a nap whenever you want to on your days off. You have a little one to take care of, plus the guilt, because say even I was feeling really sick or really tired, I would sometimes close the living room door and put a DVD on for him. Okay, Zayden has never watched so much TV and DVDs as he did when I was pregnant and when Phoenix was newly born. And the guilt that I felt because of that was huge. So you're sick, you're scared about miscarrying, and then on top of it you have guilt that you are being a bad mommy because you cannot interact with your child, you can't read them books, you can't play, you can barely change their diaper or give them a bath. So I felt so much guilt. A good friend of mine told me though, she's like, you know what, children are resilient and they will be okay, that there is a time and place for everything, including DVDs for your kids, and when you can, you play with them, you take them to the park, and when you can't, what can you do? Creating a human can be really hard on some women, and you just gotta do your best. So I took her advice to heart and tried to, give myself a break. But a good thing is that Zayden's bedtime was 7 o'clock at that time, and so I put him to bed. I would, tidy up a little bit, and then I would go to bed every night at 8 o'clock. I think during my good part of my pregnancy, around, my second to third trimester, I was, 9 o'clock bedtime. And then right before he was born again, I was back to bed at 8 o'clock every night. So that's good. It was a perk not having him go to bed late, because I got a lot of sleep. Ooh, a wasp. Yeah, that was the hardest part. Guilty, and you just couldn't. Thankfully, I know a lot of people that don't feel like they bond a lot with their second child because they're so busy taking care of their first, and maybe a little bit of the novelty is worn off. I made myself read, the month by month things online and in books about where your baby is at and how they're developing. You hear of second borns, they kind of get ripped off, right? They got all the hand-me-downs. People may not be as excited for you second time around, and as parents you may not take as many pictures or make such a big deal, and I was adamant that I was not going to do that. So I did basically everything that I did first time around, second time around. The only thing I didn't do was with Zayden and the baby we lost, I took pictures right away after we found out I was pregnant, kind of remember the day, and I didn't do that with Phoenix, which I really regret now, but I was scared. Like I said before, I thought I was miscarrying. I took a picture of the pregnancy test and I kept the pregnancy test, but there's no joyous picture of us going, wow, look, we're pregnant again. So I really I'm sad that I didn't do that, but everything else I did. Like the pregnancy calendars and stuff, I made sure I wrote everything in, and yeah, it was good that way. And I recommend that. A lot of people say they barely even notice feeling their baby kick, which, by the way, I felt a lot sooner. I think I felt him by 16 weeks. I was sure I felt the baby at 12, 13 weeks. Everyone's like, oh no, you couldn't be, it's too early. But by 16 weeks there was 15 weeks, there was no more denying it. It was the baby, and that was great to be able to feel him so much sooner. Second time around, they say often women will show a month sooner and feel the baby a month sooner second time around. So I definitely started having a little harder belly bump faster, but after the initial growth, everything slowed right down with Phoenix, which was good too, because when you're carrying around a little boy and getting on your hands and knees and doing up his shoes and putting him in a car seat, the last thing you need is this huge belly to get in the way. So thankfully I didn't get that. Like, I got pregnant, like, you knew I was pregnant and you knew I was far along when I was, but it wasn't like ginormous, which I think is possible with second babies. Okay, the one thing that I found that I didn't have to think of first time around that you need to think of second time around is who's going to watch your kid when you give birth to your second child. That isn't so easy for us because our parents all work and my girlfriends work. It was tough because unless you're booked for a cesarean, you don't know when, what time of day. Thankfully, we gave birth to Phoenix at a very convenient time for his family. They were on vacation, so they were able to come and take Zayden and watch him for us for one day. So that's another way that it was really different. You have a child there while you're in labor, if you labor mostly at home or if you do a home birth. I had Zayden with us for almost 10 hours before I gave birth to Phoenix, so a long time. And yeah, just the stress of them, because you don't know, how fast it's going to be. You hear some people, oh my goodness, they'll deliver like 3 hours second time around. So the person that's coming, if they live far away, or traffic, if it's rush hour, you don't know if they're going to get there in time. That was a lot of stress, but thankfully it all worked out. And two, your husband more than likely won't be able to stay with you as long in the hospital. They need to be home and take care of your older child. And your older child really needs you. Like, this is a huge change in their life. And then staying over, like, Zayden had never slept over at someone's house before. Mike and I have never gone out of town for a weekend. So for him to even go overnight at someone else's place was a huge deal for him. So, yeah, that was one way it was a lot different as well.